Hi, from Benin Republic. I say it's very challenging for me because it requires for me to every time practice. And since I'm writing my master thesis, it's not really easy. But it's not like just like finish the training that I need, but I want to get something from that. So it requires time for me and it's quite challenging.
Okay. Um, I'm not sure if I should be excited to hear that or to say I'm sorry to hear that. But either way, I think it's just like mixed feelings for me. All right. So I'm sorry to hear that you have like a whole lot going on and you need to be able to create time for yourself to handle it. But then I'm also excited that regardless of all of those, right, you're still finding ways to get going with the whole program and stuff. So kudos to you, and hopefully you're able to have like a much more proper balance, right? Um, Evelyn says the course has been interesting and informative. Awesome. Okay, so trying to get something to share with us, so we can just quickly get going with that. Let's see. Can we all please confirm that we have the SQL Server installed on our devices? Just join. Okay, so I'll read through the chat also. Um, Gideon says, I just joined the platform. Been learning on yours for a few weeks now. How's it been going, Gideon? Great so far from God will. Challenging after taking and failing one certification exam. Discover there's more to learn. Oh, absolutely. So there's always more to learn. Would you be kind enough to let us know what exam you missed out on? So there's always so much to learn, right? And I think the good thing about these certification exams are that when you attempt them, you find out that, oh, I mean, I've thought I had like a strong knowledge of this, but then there are so many things that I have not applied that knowledge to, right? Which I do not um know about currently. So you may have like maybe an overview or a general knowledge of that, but then there are different ways to apply those knowledge, different aspects, different fields, different scenarios, right? And until you do some of those things, you'll not be able to understand how well what you know is, right? So yep, discover there's more to learn. There's always more to learn, right? I would love to know how to join the community training program. So I think you'd need to discuss with Joy for that. Evelyn says the course has been interesting and informative. Awesome. Learning has been fantastic from Samson Coyote. Just more understanding of self-join, correlated subquery. Okay, hopefully we get to look at that. Some predicaments as you and Rihanna. Okay. Oh, same predicament. Oh, okay. Hopefully it gets sorted, Kabiru. Okay, so I think that's about that. Still installing Sunday Gabriel, having difficulty because you're using a MacBook. Do we have other persons using MacBook? I think it's always a problem. You have SQL Pro Studio as an alternative to SQL Server. I'm not sure if that works. Um, Already installed the server. Have an MS SQL and MySQL. Okay. The certificate was Associate Data Scientist. Oh, okay. So that's a whole lot, right? You need to have like a strong knowledge of all aspects, which includes being a data analyst and also being a data scientist, right? So you probably need to work more on your programming skills, try to take on projects outside of data camp, right? Try to take on projects outside of data camp, see how you can be able to get data from Cargo and other platforms as well, and then try to work with them, see what you're able to build. Also, before you take it up again, there are other projects that you can try to recreate. Look at how people have been able to create some of their projects. Try to look at that as well. And I think another thing that you can also do, there are like videos or tutorials on YouTube that would help you ace that exam better, right? So you can also look at that, see some of the key topics that they want you to focus on during the exam. So maybe if you're to have your exam next month, you could go on YouTube and get views from people that have taken the exam recently, right? And then understand what topics they want you to focus on. Then you weigh your strength in those topics, see how you're performing, and then know where to make your improvements on, right? So hopefully in the next time that you get to take it, we should be getting some good news that you smashed it with a very, very large score. So wishing you all the best, God will. Okay, so I think we're good and can proceed. I'll have something shared now. Copy this. Let's see. For Mark users, what's your alternative to SQL Server? So your alternative would be Azure Data Studio, but then there's a process to that for which I currently do not have. So you need to first install Docker on your device. If you have Docker on your device, then you can now install um, Microsoft SQL Azure Data Studio. Right. Once you have that done, it serves as an alternative to your SQL Server not being available for Mac devices. But then it also has its own lapses, because a whole lot of the things that you can do in SQL Server, you will not be able to do in Data Studio. I think the majority of things that you can do in Data Studio would be to query your database and um, work with it, right? Basically, take a backup, do a few other things, but you won't be able to do so much development as you would on SQL Server. So my SQL is different from SQL Server. I believe in the last session that we had, we talked about DBMS, which is database um, database management systems. And then we mentioned that for database management systems, right, we have the SQL, we have SQL, also known as, I'm trying to put that in the chat, so I'm typing. SQL, also known as relational, so SQL, also known as relational databases, right? And then we have, also known as RDBMS, basically. Let me just put that in brackets. RD, RDBMS, right? And then we also have non-relational, right, which is NoSQL slash non-relational relational databases, right? So I talked about this in the last session, right? And then for SQL databases or RDBMS, you have guys like MySQL, you have PostgreSQL, you have SQL Server, you have there's MariaDB, also, there's SQLite, and so many of them as well, right? There's so many that you can work with. And then, so these guys are all different. MySQL is different from PostgreSQL. They're also different from SQL Server, also different from MariaDB, also different from SQLite. So if you have MySQL, it's not the same as SQL Server, which we are going to be working with today. So I reached out to Joy this morning to inform her that for my Postgres on my device, since I'm currently using my work device, not my personal device, I can only access my work environment using the Postgres, right? But for SQL Server, I can be able to alternate between the environments. So hence why we have to switch to SQL Server. But it's completely different from MySQL, so you may need to install SQL Server on your device. So for Mac devices, like I mentioned, you need to have Docker installed. Then when you install Docker, you can also then install Azure Data Studio. So when you do, you let me know. I'm going to script out the database that we're going to be working with for you, and then you can execute the script on your end. So you have the database created and every other thing as well. Let's see. Okay, so I'll share something in the chat. Please kindly download this to your device. Right, so I shared a Google Drive link for a particular file. Kindly download it to your device, and we're going to work with that. So once you download it to your device, let me know. You don't need to do anything else once you download it. Just let me know once you have it downloaded to your device. Hello, Fumilayo.
Hello, good morning.
Hi, good morning.
Yes, I have a concern or maybe
Okay.
challenge. Okay, the what we are learning on data camp, we are using PostgreSQL. So I want to ask, and some of these terms are they are similar, but they are kinds of different. Let's say, okay, the keywords that are used here or the functions that are used here is another name, another maybe MySQL server or MS SQL. So I want to ask, can you just like maybe not today, but the next mentoring section that we have, if we can work on that, like okay, yes, we have been doing experiential learning on data camp using PostgreSQL. So we should please let the section also focus on okay using PostgreSQL. So I think that's just my own personal concern. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much. I believe that's very valid. Makes a lot of sense. Okay, so we'll look at that, right? Maybe apologies from my end, since this is coming from me, right? Apologies from me. So I think in the next session that we're going to have would definitely look at that, right? So it works for everyone, and then you understand that, oh, we're practicing using this, so we can, or we're learning using this, so we should also practice using this. Just as you mentioned, there are a few differences when it comes to setting keywords and commands, right? But they're not like much different apart. So maybe if we're talking about my SQL or Oracle, there's like plenty of differences in the keywords and how you get to work with them, but not much differences as it's made for Postgres. So we should still be able to work with it in some ways. For places where we have differences, I'd let you know so you're able to um, implement that, right? But like I mentioned, there are not much differences when it comes to working with Postgres and SQL Server, right? A few places, yes, but not much. Except maybe when you go into development, you're trying to develop like a full-fledged database. That's when you need to start understanding, oh, I need to fix this part, I need to fix this part, I need to do this and the likes. But so far, we'll work with what we can, and we'll also talk about the places where there are like issues. So yeah, thank you very much for that. I think we had one more person based up there. Being able to download the drive.
All
Awesome.
right, thank you very much.
Welcome. Okay, so can we please confirm that we have it downloaded? I'm also going to download it on my end so we can get the process work done. So I think there's 2022 and most likely 2024, but I currently have 2019, so should still be able to work with it. Okay, it's still downloading. All right, cool. So we're also going to attempt some questions for it, right? Let me see. Another thing to note is when you need to get into an organization, right? I think it makes a lot of sense to have an idea of some of these guys. Oh, how does it work in SQL Server? How does it work in Postgres? next time we should be made aware of the necessary applications. Yeah, apologies. Also, I think I'll take that as well. So apologies for that. Let me also drop this to the chat so you can have it downloaded once and should be good. So these are the questions. They're like basic questions, and then once we're sorted with the basic questions, we can then go into much more complex ones. So I'll have it shared. Okay, sorry, Abdul Karim. Hi, Princess. Okay, so these are the basic questions that we'd look at, and then we have questions for joins that we'll also look at. Let me get them. Joins and other aspects which would be even more. So let me get them first. Okay, so I shared 3 drive links. Let me try to just put everything in one drive instead. Give me a moment. One folder. One folder. So if you have it downloaded already on your device, please let me know. I believe at this point, everyone has gotten to the aspect of joins, subqueries, cities, and the likes. Am I right?
Yeah,
Yes.
quite a number of them. I've done that. So I've got to that level.
All right, awesome. Awesome. Okay, so we're going to look at, oops. Okay, so we're going to look at them. I actually wanted us to create our own database from our files, but we may experience issues with that. But I think it's okay to still go on ahead and talk about it. So maybe on days where you have an Excel file or a CSV file, you can easily just import it into your database and work with it. I'm not sure if we had that done the last time. I can't remember if we had that done the last time. Anyone can view. All right, so I have some questions here. Yeah, so I have been able to consolidate everything into one particular folder, so you can utilize this instead. Right, so you can just use this particular one instead. Everything is there, but the adventure works, the questions that we need as well. I believe we're all good to go right now. So let me have my screen shared. I believe everyone can see my screen. So I have the folder here, right? I've shared that with everyone. So let me just close. Okay, so I have the folder shared with everyone. So once you access this, you should be able to get the basic questions, and then from here we can then move into the joins and the other ones as well. Right, where necessary, would look at subqueries and cities. So let's proceed. All right, once you have your SQL launched, right, the first thing you see is something like this, right? Once you have it launched, this is what you get to see. So it's important to note some of these things. Your server type, always on database engine, the server name, has to be the server that you're trying to get connected to, and then your right authentication, right? So your authentication has to be either Windows or SQL Server authentication. So when you're using Windows, right, it means that you're allowing SQL Server to utilize your device's name and credentials, right? So you can see my default name is this because I'm using my organizational device at this time. Then the password, there's no password because it looks at it and says, oh, I currently have this in progress, right? Then when you go for SQL Server, you need to put in a login and a password in order to be able to access that, right? So you need to have a login and a password. And then maybe if your organization works with Azure Active Directory, all you just need to do would be to put in your maybe work username and at core.inc or at appzonegroup.com, right? So my organization will be branded from AppZone Group, right, to core, but we still utilize our like domains and stuff. So yeah, once you do this and you click on connect, then it goes through, right? But then for some organizations like mine, you need to have a protected access via VPN. So if I do not have a VPN connected, I cannot access this work environment at the moment, right? So you just need to be sure of the authentication that you're using. Either of all these guys could also work as well. So currently we're using Windows and you click on connect. Now for some of us, when you click on connect the first time, it just comes here and gives us this, which means you're fine. For other persons, when you click on connect, it will show you an error, something,
Sorry,
something
please, I
about,
cannot see your screen. Sorry to disturb you.
okay. Okay, so I'll stop sharing.
I think that might be all right. Okay, no problem.
That's fine. I'll just stop sharing and then share again. So let me go on again. So for some other persons, right? Okay, so it will give you a connection error. If it's fine with you, you can paste the connection error here. But then if the connection error is related to something about cannot establish a connection because the server certificate, something about server certificate, right? So when you read through and then you're able to see that it has something about server certificate, then what you want to do is to click on options and trust your server certificate, right? So it will be unchecked by default. So you just trust it and you connect. Once you do that, it should connect your database engine, fine. But if that's not the error you're having, if it's not about certificate, it's something else, then you need to let me know what it is. it will take other approach to have it sorted, maybe to restart the service or so. I believe we're all good at this point. We're all on the same page. Okay, so once you have this, this is your object explorer and where you need to focus on a lot of times. So you have your databases folder. For security, it's how you basically connect to the database. This is basically where you get to see every user that can connect to this particular database. There are several roles and the likes. I'm sure you also would probably have looked into database creation, creating your database tables, assigning roles and users, right, who can access the database and whatnot. So this is basically where you get to see all those in SQL Server. Then you have your server objects, which are not important right now for us, and other stuff as well. So the only thing important here right now is the databases. So for databases, we'll click on the plus button to work with that. So when you click on the plus button, you would not have any of these databases by default, right? You don't have any of these databases by default. So we'll need to create our own database. In the last session, we looked at creating a database. So this time around, we want to bring in an already existing database, an already created database, and just bring it to here. So I believe we've had the file downloaded already. So let's do this. So I have the file downloaded already, right? I have it downloaded here, which is this. So I'll just go to my folder to look for it. So I have it here, right? So what I'm going to do now is that I currently have it in my downloads. So let me just come here. I think I should just change my view to medium size, large icons. Let me just work with large icons. Right. Okay, so just give me some minutes. So now once you have it in your download folder, right? Basically what you want to do is to copy it out. I'm not sure why this is responding poorly. So just give me some minutes. Okay, so let me do this. And I have it in my downloads. Okay, so this is the file, right? We have it here, basically. So what we're going to do is to copy this file. We'll just copy it out, right? So once you copy the file, you'd go to this PC. So you click on this PC. When you go to this PC, you come here to your local disk. I'm sure everyone can see their local disk at this point.
So sorry to disturb you, but we can't see your screen anymore. Thank you.
Okay. Is this for everyone? Is this happening for everyone?
No, I can see your screen.
I can see
Same
your
thing
screen.
with me also. Same thing with me.
I didn't see it before. I had to restart to see it again.
I can see
Oh,
your
okay.
screen,
I
but
had to restart the meeting.
Yeah, so I stopped
maybe
sharing. Okay, so let's take it again. I think maybe if it happens again, right, you may want to look at your network or try going off and joining back in again. So, all right. So once you have it copied, you copy the file that you downloaded, right, which is the one that has a BAK. Now it has a BAK because it is a backed up database, right? It's a database that has been backed up already. So we'll come here to local disk and open it. And then we have a couple of these guys here, right? I'll come here in my users, so I can put it in any of these, but I like to put it in my users because it's much more better for me. So I'll come here in my users and then right click and paste it here, right? I need to provide this. So if it prompts you with this particular thing, you just click on continue. That's fine since it's your device, right? And then we have it here. Someone's mic is turned on and creating some noise for us. Please let me know once you have this completed and just put that in the chat or leave a reaction. So let me know once you've pasted it in your users. Hi Helena, your mic is turned on and we can hear a whole lot from you. You need to just run the process once again. All right, so I'll take the process again. Okay. First things first, right? You need to have your file downloaded, which is the BAK file. Have the BAK file downloaded. Once you have it downloaded to your device, you right click and have it copied. To copy it, you click on file on your left hand side. File, and you go to local disk. When you go to local disk, the next thing you want to do is to open it and go to the users folder. Then in the users folder, you come here, right click, and then you can paste. So when you paste, it will prompt you that you have that guy. I'll call you back. I'll call you back. So it will prompt you that you have that you need to put in administrator access. So just click on continue, and it should work fine for you, right? Something like this. So just click on continue, and it will paste your file here for you, and you're good. Now I'll explain why we did that. This is because in your SQL server, it cannot read the files that are on your device. By that, I mean it cannot see your document folder, all these folders that you have on your left-hand side, desktop, downloads, document. SQL Server cannot read it, right, when it has a database in it. The only thing it can read will be maybe you have some SQL queries that have been saved. That's when it can be able to read it. So let's see how we can bring that database here. Now to bring the database here, we'll come here to databases folder. Everyone, click on databases folder, then you right click on it and click on restore. So right click on databases folder and restore database. Once you do that, it would give you this wizard. Then you can put in all the things that you need to. So our database file is on our device. It's not a currently existing database. So it's a file on our device. So we'll click on device and then go to the right hand side where we have these three dots or the ellipses, if you want to call it that. So we have device, click on these three dots. And when you click on the three dots, you click on add, right? The next thing it gives you is to add. So you click on add, and then you can then look for where you have the file saved. Now notice that we can only see our C drive. Inside our C drive, we have a lot of folders there, but SQL Server cannot be able to read our folders like documents, downloads, and whatsoever. Right? It can only read from the system or root folders. So we have it stored in the users. So we'll click on users, not the plus button. We'll click on users. When you click on the plus button, you would find nothing there, right? So you click on users. When you click on users, you can then see your database there, right? All right. So once you have your database, I'm currently working with this particular one since that's the one I just downloaded again. So I will click on OK. I would click on OK again. And then once you have this, you're fine with this. In some cases, you need to change the database name to give it what you want. But in this case, we're fine. All right. So we'll just click on OK and we should be good. So when we click on OK, so for me, it will show me an error most likely because I already have it existing. It's being used by database adventure 2019 migrated. So let's do something. Okay, so I'm just gonna do this, and so let me know if yours is successful. So it should go fine for me now. Just gonna click on this, and let's see. So mine should go fine for me now. Restore successfully. So you should have same on your end as well. Let me know if you have that done for you. Files be shared again. Okay. On network. Let's see. Let me copy the file. Hi Praise, where are you lost? After clicking device, got it but lost by now. Okay, so I'm going to take it again. So kindly follow through. What's the process again after having the file on users? So once you have the file pasted in your users, then you go to your SQL server and restore it from there. So I'll take the entire process from scratch again, right? So this means that we'll probably have like some more time added to our stuff, but let's proceed. So here, all right. First things first, you have the file downloaded to your device. You have it here downloaded to your device. Once you have it downloaded to your device, you copy it. Copy. Once you copy it, you go to your this PC on your left hand side. So when you click on this PC on your left hand side, you have your local disk. Open your local disk, open your users folder, and you can store it there. Right click and you paste it in your users folder. It's going to tell you provide administrator access. Just click on continue and you're good. Right. So once it's pasted here, you can see I also have some other databases that I pasted here as well. Right. And you can now go to your SQL server and restore it. So I'll take the process again. Let me see. Okay, so I'll take the process again. Right click on databases. Once you've pasted it, come here and right click on databases, click on restore database. When you restore the database, it gives you this prompt. You select device. Under device, you would see on your right hand side there is the 3 horizontal dots. You click on the 3 horizontal dots and click on add. Once you add, you can then scroll down to locate your users folder. So click on users and you can find the file here. So when you find the file, you click on it, okay, and okay, and then to bring you to this point. So once you're here, you can click on OK and it should be successful. If it throws you an error, you let me know what error it throws you. Right. So I believe this should help. Can we still access it on YouTube after this session? I'm not sure. I believe that's a discussion with Joy, but yes, should be available for you afterwards. Okay, so let's proceed. So now we have
Yeah,
our database
they are
restored.
available actually.
All right, cool. So now we have our database restored. We can see it here, AdventureWorks. So kindly don't mind me. This is my personal device or my work device rather. So I just use this for my own personal environment of my work device. So let me put it that way. So I have like other servers I can connect to when it comes to work. Basically, not this particular one because it's not secure. So basically we have it here, AdventureWorks 2019. So when you click on the plus button for AdventureWorks 2019, you have some database components, just like you would see also on Postgres. You create a database and it comes with database components, right? You can create an ERD for it. You can see your tables, right? So you can click on tables and this is what you have. When you click the plus button for tables, you can see that we have quite a lot of tables here. Now, the reason we're working with this particular database is because it gives you a real work environment feel. In your work environment, you're not going to have just one or two tables like when you're practicing. You have lots and lots of tables like this, right? Sometimes it could be over 100 tables in one database. In my organization, every single database has at least 150 tables in them. So you need to have a clear understanding of those tables and how to work with them, right? So we have the AdventureWorks 2019 database and we're good. So we're going to work with the tables there. So let's proceed. So we'll come here, databases or on our server name and click on new query. When we click on new query, it will open us the tab or this query sheet for typing and writing our queries. So first things first, we would activate our database for use. I believe we all know about commenting. So we'll activate our database for use by saying use the AdventureWorks 2019 database and execute. Right. So once we do this, we should be good, right? Commands completed successfully. So when it tells you commands completed successfully, just like in Postgres, when you need to see all the tables in a database, right? In SQL, you also have that. I believe for Postgres, you can do show tables, something like this, right? And that works for you. It works in MySQL as well, right? Um, in SQL Server, you would need to do select all from system.tables, and this would return all the table information for that particular database. Right, it tells you these are all the tables that we have and the likes, right? With all their information that we need to see. But then these are not important, right? We have some questions that we want to find answers to. We have some questions that we want to find answers to, which I shared here. We'll start off with the basic ones. So which is this. If you have this downloaded to your device, you can just get it directly from SQL, or you can decide to copy it from here, whichever one works for you. So I would download it to my device, download, and I would have it launched in SQL. Okay, so it's trying to launch using AD. Let me see. I don't need to launch using AD, but let me see. I don't need to do this for me. So I'm just gonna come here. Okay, so once you click on it, right, after downloading it, it should launch in your SQL server by default. I currently have another SQL environment that's like taking it. So I would just go to, and let me just change it to launching. Open with SQL server, right, SSMS 19, and this is it. So this is what we're going to find answers to first off. Once we have this sorted, then we can proceed to the other complex aspects, right? So at this point, everyone agrees with me that they already have basic knowledge of SQL. So we're going to test with everything that we have here, right? Now, first things first, I always advise the new database, get familiar with the database, right? Otherwise, you will not be able to work with it. So let's understand this database has some tables. We have them categorized, right? We have the human resources dot department, human resources dot this, and a couple of them for human resources, a couple others for person. You can see person dot password, person dot address, production dot this, purchasing dot this, sales dot this, right? I believe we are all aware of what is called schema. I know some of us would actually call this schema, but no, it's not schema. This is schema, right? So once you have an idea of what schema is, basically being your logical arrangement of database objects, right? So the logical arrangement of database objects, then you would understand all these things that we have here. In Postgres, a lot of times you'd see public dot your table name, which is, let's say, table one, right? Something like this. So this is the schema basically, and tells you where this particular table is coming from. Oh, this table is coming from this particular database, and this database is coming from maybe Windows dot public, right? So maybe it's coming from this Windows schema or so, right? So once we have that done, the next thing we need to do is to now understand each of these table. So I'm saying this because in an organization, you need to understand your tables and your databases completely before you can work with it, right? You don't just get the database and then dive into it and say, okay, let me try this and the likes. You need to completely understand it. And like I've mentioned, each database would have lots of tables, and each table will have lots of records in them, right? So we have the human resources for collecting human resource information about employees, their departments, and every other thing. The person table for collecting everything about a person, whether they are hired or not hired by this organization, right? We have the production, which contains production information, the purchasing, which contains purchasing information, the sales, and other ones as well, right? Okay, so let's proceed. Um, Now we have this. We've been able to activate our database already, right? So the first question says, from the human resources dot employee table, write a query in SQL to retrieve all fields and records from the employee table in the Adventure Work database. Sort the result in ascending order of the job title. So first things first, it says from this particular table, right? So we have the table already. So let's proceed. Select all from the human resources the employee table. We can come here and look for the human resources the employee table and drag it here. Right. So you can either decide to type it out or you can just drag it. So one of them works, or either of them works as well. Select all from the human resources the employee. So we have this executed. Once you execute it, you're able to see everything that you have here, and you can now figure out the next part of the question. Write a query to retrieve all fields, which we've done, and then sort the result in ascending order of the job title. Now, some of you can be attempting this on your own, right, while we take everyone else along. So we'll get to a point where everyone needs to like flow together. So it says sort the result in ascending order of the job title. So at this point, everything we're doing is still what you do in Postgres, right? Except for the data restoration part. So how do we sort it? We order by the job title column. So order by job title column, as we can already see, in ascending order. So in SQL, you can decide to type out the ASC or not, right? So by default, it's sorted in ascending order. I'm sure everyone understands that. So you can either type the ASC out or just leave it without that. So either of them works. So have this highlighted and executed, and we have our results, right? So everything is now sorting in ascending order based on the job title. So that's very basic. I'm sure everyone is following at this point. Let me quickly check. So close this guy. Is everyone following? Okay, Princess wants to ask a clarifying question. Other by. Hi Princess, what's your question?
Okay, sorry. I was a bit confused with loading my adventure works after you said activate our database. I was quite lost at that point. So I needed clarification. Thank you.
Okay. So now the thing there is that let's look at it this way. So like I said from the onset, I always advise try to have an understanding of working with at least SQL Server and Postgres, because most organizations, majority of organizations, let me put it this way, the ratio of organizations to that use SQL Server to Postgres would be maybe 7-3, right? And 7 being for organizations that use SQL Server, right? Because of their large Microsoft support and all of those. Postgres is open source, so a lot of times it's might be complicated getting help from people, except when you reach out to the community. Now, in most cases, right, you have your database. When you launch your SQL Server, by default, it's going to be in your master database. You can see master here, right? It's going to be in your master database by default. So if you need to work with any of the databases that you have listed here, you need to activate it by bringing in the use command. So we'd say use maybe September sessions or the last sessions that we had for Tamp, right? So we can actually do use this database and then we can work with it. So once you do this and execute, it will change the database here from master to current database that you're working with. So that's what I meant by activate your database for use. If you don't do that, you keep on looking for your data where it's not. So I hope that's clear. Um, all right, so let's also proceed. So now we've been able to get the first question. So we also have the second question. So the second question from the person.person table, write a query to retrieve all fields and records from the employee table using table aliasing in the Adventure Works database. Does anyone want to help us with this particular question? I'll just do the main thing. Select all from the person.person. So I have the person.person here. So select all from person.person. It says using table aliasing. Does anyone want to help out what it means? Let's see. Experience, which is the best database to use. I don't think there's anything like best database to use. I think it's just dependent on your request, what you want to achieve at the end of the day. But I'd say when starting out, right, I always advise SQL Server when starting out, right? Because it has like a robust stuff and pretty much easy to learn. And then Postgres is also cool as well, right? But then when you get into organizations, I think you use more of either Postgres or SQL Server. There are also organizations that use MySQL, and many organizations also use Oracle. Right, so Oracle has its own syntax, is completely different from what we have here. So you might need to also learn Oracle as well, using as. So where are we using the as? Anyone? Where are we putting the as? Anyone? Anyone? Let's see. So look at the question again. The question says, write this to retrieve all fields and records from the employee table using table aliasing in the Adventure Works database. Sort the output in ascending order on the last name. So where are we putting the as? Anyone? After the column name. Okay. AS is used for aliasing. Yep, we know about that. We want to know where we're going to place it. Okay, someone says after the column name. I don't think we've listed out any column name, unless you're saying we should put as, which would not be ideal. So let's look at it this way. Now, there's column aliasing and there's table aliasing. The question here says from employee table to retrieve all records and this. Okay, so it's supposed to be from the person.person table rather. And let me just change that. Person.person table using table aliasing. Now, when it comes to table aliasing, right, all we need to do is to come and alias the table and put our as here and say as people can call it people or any other name that we want to give it. So table aliasing has to be for the table, right, not the columns. So once we have this done, we can highlight execute, and this is it. No difference with what we had initially because we are aliasing the table. It is only SQL Server Engine that can read that, oh, we've changed the name of this table temporarily with our aliasing to people. Now, once we have that done, the next thing it says is to sort the output in ascending order on the last name. So order by last name in ascending order, right? So we'll still click here as well. All right, so we have this done. We've aliased our table, and then this is it, right? And we've also sorted in ascending order. So 2 questions done. Let's proceed to the third one. Now it says from the production.product table, write a query that displays the product ID, the column name, and the color columns. Display only the rows in which the colors is not blue. So always first off, do your select of your table, which in this case is production.product. So I can bring it here, production.product, and I want to execute this. Then it says to display the product ID, the name, and the color. So we'll replace our asterisks at this point with product ID, comma, name, comma, and the color. Right. So this is it. So we have 504 records for this particular table, right? Showing us the product ID, the product name, and the color. Now it says display only the records in which the colors is not blue. So in SQL, we have 2 methods of using the is not, right? So we're going to do a where clause where color is not blue because it's a text, right? So where the color is not blue, or we can say where the color is not equal to blue. So either of them works. Put it. This works, and this also works, right? For your not equal to. Now a lot of times when you have business question, it's going to come as very tricky, right? When you have business questions, it's going to come as very tricky. So we have the is not in SQL. So don't be tempted to go and do this is not blue, right? This would absolutely throw you errors, right? So you don't want to do that. So where color is not blue. So currently we have 504 records. When we filter for colors that are not blue, then we should be having 230 records returned. So we can always see the number of records returned on your lower right hand side. Are we all good? Three questions down. What color is not equal to blue? This. Okay. It's let me see what's going on here. Okay, the battery is low and PACN has yet to restore. Oh, okay. So sorry about that. So sorry about that. All right. So let's proceed. Okay. Hi doing. Please go ahead with your question. Hello doing.
Sorry, it was an error. Sorry.
Okay. All right. Cool. All right, let's proceed. So question number 4, from the person table, write a query in SQL to return all rows and subset of the columns. So let's first get our guy. Select all from the person table. Right, so we have this person. Let's see. So here we go. Right. So once we have this done, we're good. Now it says return all rows and a subset of the columns, the first name, the last name, and the business entity ID. So let's get it. First name, comma, last name, and the business entity ID. Right, so this is what we have, and we have a total of 19,972 records returned. Now it says the third column heading should be renamed to employee ID, right? And then arrange the output in ascending order on the last name. So to rename the third column, we would use our aliasing and call it employee ID. All right, just do capital D here. And then we can also do order by to arrange it in ascending order on the last name. So order by the last name in ascending order. So once we have this and execute, we should be good. Okay, so let's look at the fifth question rather. I think there's 2Q4. So the fifth question, select from the sales order header table. So let me just get that guy here. Select all from your sales order header. Okay, so this guy is okay, so I'll just copy it instead. So I just don't have to. So select all from sales order header table. Right. Now for this, it says write a query to retrieve all rows from this particular table and calculate the percent of tax on the subtotal as decided. Then return the sales order ID, the customer ID, the order date, the subtotal, and the percent of tax column. Arrange the results set in ascending order on the subtotal. So let's take the question again. Retrieve all records from sales order header table in this database and calculate the percentage of tax on the subtotal as decided. Return the sales order ID, the customer ID, the order date, the subtotal, the percentage of tax column, and then have it arranged in ascending order on the subtotal. So what do we do in this case? We need to do some arithmetic basically. So let's do, we replace this with what is expected of us. Return the sales order ID, comma, customer ID, comma, other dates, comma, the subtotal, and let's also get the tax, right? So there's a column called tax amount, right? When we check, there's a column called tax amount. So we have a column called tax amount that would help us get the tax for that. So we can do this, execute. Right, so this is what we have. Now it says to calculate the percentage of tax on the subtotal as decided. So this is where we bring in some arithmetic, right? What do we do? Get the percentage of tax on the subtotal. So what we're going to do now is to, first off, we can quickly try it out here. Is, we can say the percentage of tax would be subtotal multiplied by 100. Let's see. Okay, so the tax rather, tax amount multiplied by 100 on the subtotal. Right, so we can put this in brackets and in bracket as well. Right, and we can also put this in bracket if we want and call it as tax percent on subtotal. So let's see what we have here as the result. All right, so we have about 9%, 8%, and all of these. Right, I don't think we have anything that is more than this. Right, so which means we've been able to get that there were about 9% tax, 8% tax on the subtotal for this. Right, so we can bring this guy here and just copy it and put it here, add it to our query, right? So we can execute, and this is what we have. So we can now see that the percentage of tax on the subtotal for each of these guys, there was a 9.5% tax on this subtotal and the likes, right? So we can see how it goes for each and every one of the records that we have here. Are we all good? Do we think this is correct, anyone, or this is mathematically wrong? Let's see. Depends on the question, you're answering what you want to solve. Yep. Okay. So let me know if this worked for you. I'm going to bring this to the next line so you can see. Can we please confirm that we're all good? Are we good? All right, awesome. Okay, so let's proceed. So we've been able to sort that question. So let's go to the next one. I think I can, it's safe for me to clear this one off. So just change this to question 6. Write a query in SQL to create a list of unique job titles. So this is also basic. Just like to keep my stuff in capital letters. So select all from human resources employee table. Human resources, the employee table. So we'll be getting to the complex parts shortly. Human resources, the employee table, and this is it. So it says return the unique job titles and arrange the results set in ascending order. So how do we get the unique job title? You can see the job title here. So we can do our distinct job title and get it here. Right. So this is it. So we have 67 records returned for our unique job title. I think before then we had like quite a number of records, about 290, but our unique job title is 67. Now also it says to return the job title column and arrange the result set in ascending order. Currently it's already sorted by default, but let's still go on ahead and fulfill that part of the question. So order by the job title. Right. And we're good. So this is it, and we're good with that. So let's proceed to the next question. So what we're doing basically is to refresh us of what some of the things that we've done, right? We'll look at more and more complex part as we progress. Question 7 says from sales.sales order header table. So select all from sales.sales order header table. Right. Then write a query to calculate the total freight paid by each customer. Return the customer ID and the total freight, and then sort the output in ascending order on the last name. So what we're going to do, write the query to calculate the total freight, return the customer ID and the total freight. So I believe that's where aggregation comes in, right? So get the customer ID and get the total freight. I believe we have, okay, so we don't have the total freight. So let's see. So we have this total freight. Okay, so we have a freight column. So let's do customer ID and freight. Right. So let's do this. And this is what it is. Now it says to get the total freight, right? I believe that's where we get to do the sum the freight as total freight, right? But we do understand in SQL that once we're bringing in an aggregation or an aggregated column, we cannot have it side by side with another column that is not aggregated. That is not compatible. The only time that we need to be able to proceed with that is when we initiate or introduce the group by clause, right? And the group by has to be grouping the other column or columns that are not aggregated. So we're saying group by customer ID. Yeah. Are we good? It says sort in ascending order. Okay, so order by the customer ID in ascending order. So this is basically it. Once we have it grouped, it should be able to group all the customer IDs and say, instead of you having 616 and then having another value later on and another, I'm just going to have you calculated and grouped into one. Does anyone understand the group by concept clearly? These things, okay, cool. I believe we all understand the group by concept clearly, right? Everyone? All right, cool. Okay, so let's proceed. All right, awesome. Okay, so that's sorted. The next one. The next one says, write a query to retrieve total quantity of each product ID, which are in shelf of A or C or H. Can we attempt this? Can anyone attempt this and let's see what we're able to get? Can you hear me? Okay, so let me know.
Sorry, is it just me or can everybody still hear someone? No,
Oh,
I can't hear
yes,
him.
I'm actually here. So
Okay,
I
yeah.
asked for you all to attempt this question, then we can proceed.
Okay, all right, no problem.
I think someone already attempted the question on the chat.
Okay,
Um,
awesome.
yeah.
Right. Okay. Let's see. Okay. Let's see this. Okay. Fumi has a question. Hi, Fumi. Please go ahead with your question. I think you can only
All right.
just call my attention. So yeah.
All right, thank you very much. I just want to ask, in Excel, we use when you want to perform some arithmetic operations, when we use this reference using the dollar sign. I want to ask, can we have that kind of scenario also in SQL?
What do you mean by the dollar sign?
Okay, when you want to reference, we have absolute and relative reference. Let's assume that, okay, I want to add an amount by a percentage, and I do not want the percentage to change, but I want the amount to varies across the records that I have. So I will use the dollar sign, that is for relative reference. Okay, if it is that I want the column, the amount to change, maybe the column or the row to change together with the other records that I have. So I want to ask, do we have that kind of scenario on SQL as well?
Hmm.
Do you
Well,
understand what I'm asking?
yes, yes,
Do you
absolutely,
understand my question?
absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. I'm trying to see if that works in SQL. I don't
Yeah.
think, or maybe because I haven't explored that, but I don't think. I don't think. Hmm.
Okay, thank you. Because all through the lesson on data camp, I did not see anything of
Yeah,
such. I don't think it is
I don't
actual,
think
but I
that.
just wanted to confirm, since you are working with it already, so you are a mentor, so I wanted to confirm.
I don't think that works. I don't think that works. I'll probably check it out, but I doubt so. All right, so
All right,
let's try
thank you.
this and see. No, this is good. Please give me a moment. Okay, so let's proceed. So we have this from Nkechi. Product ID, some quantity from production dot product inventory table. Where the shelf in ACH, go by the product ID that has a sum quantity greater than 500. Okay, so when we have this highlighted and executed, this gives us the correct result. Let's put this as total QTY. So yep. So this is absolutely correct. Let's see, sort the results in ascending order on the product ID. Return the product ID and sum of quantity. Filter the results for quantity that is more than 500, and for shelves that are in A or C or H. Right. So the in works instead of repeating the all several times. Right. So yeah. Okay, I believe everyone is fine with this. So that was a good one. So let's proceed to the next question. The next question says, from the production dot product inventory table, Write a query in SQL to find the sum of quantity of all combination of a group of distinct location ID and shelf column. Okay, so let's also look at this. Select all from the production table, production of product inventory table. Okay, so all right. So what we're going to do now would be to check this table, see what we have on it. Write a query in SQL to find the sum of quantity of all combination of a group of distinct location ID and shelf column. So let's get these guys, the location ID, comma, the shelf, and the sum of quantity as total quantity, right? Um, Before we get that, let's look at this first off. Right. So this is what we have, location ID, the shelf. So we have like repeated values. I believe that's why we have it distinct here. So we have repeated values. So we need to be able to get the distinct location ID and shelf column, right? So what we want to do, we can come here and say distinct. Of course, we cannot distinct the location ID and also distinct the shelf. That won't work in SQL. We can't actually do this. So we can only distinct one, and that works for everything. But then this question is a bit tricky because we're going to be using the group by and the distinct at the same time. So group by location ID and shelf. Let's put a comma here. So we have these, and we're gonna call it some apps. Okay, so we have this here, right? And when we do this and execute, this is basically what everyone would do, right? So we now see that we've been able to get the distinct and also properly group it, right? But then the main thing with this is that we cannot have the distinct and the group by in the same query. We cannot have the distinct and the group by in the same query because at this point, they are both performing the same operation. When you group your values, you're also saying you want to remove duplicated data, right? I don't know if we're getting it.
Yes, we are.
All right, cool. So we cannot have both of them here. Of course, this works. It makes no changes, but then we can do this to have it done. Right. So this is basically what we get. Other aspect for this particular question will be going the cube route to be able to also get the unique shelf, but I don't think we actually need that because at the end of the day, what we want to do is to just focus on getting the group of distinct location ID and the shelf column, which is basically what we have here. If we change our group by, we would see these guys swap out. Now you might be saying, oh, but we're grouping, why is the shelf still like this? Now, if you understand this particular table very well, you'd notice that one location can have multiple shelf, and one shelf can have multiple location. Hence why when you group, it will still look like you are not grouping your data correctly. So this absolutely is still correct. Now the last question says from the person.business entity address table, write a query in SQL to retrieve number of employees for each city, return city and number of employees. So let's also see anyone who can attempt this. Once we're done with this, we'll dive into the other ones for joins. So let me know once you have this done. So once you're done and put it in the chat, please let me know.
I think somebody has attempted it already.
All right, let's have a look. Okay. Let's see. I'm just gonna copy this. All right, cool. So select a city, count these as number of employees from this particular table. Join this on this, and also join this on this. Okay. Go by city, other by city. Okay, let's see. All right. So this is correct. Now for persons who might not understand this, let's break it down. Now basically what's going on here is first off, you want to get all the data in your business entity address table, right? Then also have the data joined with your person address table using the address ID, which they both have in common. And then lastly, you want to have it joined with the human resources employee table, right? Using their business entity ID, and then have it grouped by the city and sorted by the city. Now, however, right, I can also say this is not correct, right? Now, let's look at it. One thing about SQL is that SQL is tricky. Let's put it this way. SQL is very, very tricky. Okay, so I wanted to type, but I'm not sure how to properly put this in. Now, one thing with SQL is that it is very tricky in the sense that you need to properly understand your business question before you dive into it. When you execute your query, right, as long as it's not throwing you red lines here and telling you that there's no error with your query or so, you'll get a result. But then the question you need to ask yourself is this result what I need to get? Is this what I expect to get also? Right. Now, this is correct, but it's also not correct. Now, the reason why I say it's not correct is because the number of records being returned is not what we should be getting. Now, also notice that we do not have any city that begins with A, or we only have like lesser cities that have C's and the likes, right? Now, let's look at this again. The problem here is because we have the human resources, the employee table in play here. If we take out this guy by commenting it out, let's replace this with A dot. Okay, so let's do B dot business on the TID. So we don't basically need this particular join. Currently, we have 31 records, but when we highlight it and execute, we find out that we have even more. Now, this is because when you're joining this again, it is now looking at the two tables and saying, oh, I've done for these guys what they should do, but then I also want to bring this particular one into play. So it reduces the number of results that we'll get because it's also looking at what it can see here that is also on this other guy, right? Which is this other guy. That's this. Yeah. I don't know if we're getting it.
Kindly repeat what you said. Thank you.
All right, cool. Okay, so let's take this from scratch. Let's break this down one after the other. First off, select all from, it says select all from the person.business entity address, right? So we were only provided with one particular table, person.business entity address table, right? When you view this particular table, it gives you all of this, but does not give you anywhere that it has city. So you might begin to think, oh, the question is incorrect, right? So I like to put it that it's either the question is not correct or you just don't have the solution to it yet. Now, if we look at it this way, we can see that we don't have the city, right? So definitely the city should be on somewhere else. So we need to check for a table that also has city in it, right? So how do we do? In SQL Server, you have what is called information underscore schema. So you have what is called information underscore schema. This basically contains all the information about a particular table or column that you need, right? So what we're going to do is to work with this guy and figure out, select all from information schema dot. We're going to use columns because we want to find a column that contains the word city in it. So when we do this, it lists us all the tables and columns in all of our tables. Now we can see all the columns that we have in this database, in the entire AdventureWorks database. We can also see where each column belongs to, which is their tables. We can also see what table schema each of them have. Some of them belong to the human resources table schema, others belong to sales, and we can see that they are all in the AdventureWorks 2019 database. So now that we have this, we can then put where the column name, has a value like so we can just do city, because we don't know maybe the city is at the front or at the back, right? So we'll just do where it has a value like city. And when we have something like this, we can then have a look at it and see we have columns that contain city, 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 and these are the tables in their table schema. So we can see that the person.v additional contact info has a column called city. Now, one thing to note is that all of these guys that we have V in their name, they are not our actual tables. I believe we've gotten to the point where we talk about views in SQL, right? So all of these are views. Everything that has a V attached to it are views, which means they are not tables, but have queries that can give us results in tables. So they are not tables, right? But they have queries that can give us results in tables. Now we have this, which seems to be the only column or table rather that has a city in the name. So let's look at that particular guy. Select all from person dot address table. So when we do this, you can now see that the address table has the city in itself, right? So this column or this table rather has the column city. So this means that we need to find a way to collabo these two guys together. So how do we collabo them together? Can execute them both at the same time, and then we can see what they have in common. Now we can have a look at it. The business entity ID here cannot be found in this other table. The address ID can be found. The address type ID cannot be found. Other things that can be found are the role guild and the modified date, right? But of course, these are not keys, so we cannot work with them. The only synchronization that we can do is the address ID here and this address ID here. Now, this is where the primary key foreign key relationship comes in, right? I believe we already understand that. So this is where the primary key foreign key relationship comes in. So we need to figure out, does this guy have an actual relationship with this guy? So we don't end up joining two tables simply because they have the same name and are found on the same table, right? So we need to have that confirmation done. Now in SQL Server, one way to confirm that is to write some script. Another way to confirm that is to look at the table definition, right? To find out how this table was created, what are the columns that it needs to reference in other tables and the likes, right? Another way is to also come here, maybe look at the person.address, come here, look at the keys. Let's say, for example, we have this, we can see this is a foreign key. This is a primary key. We can also look for the other table and say this is business entity address. This is a primary key. The business entity ID is a primary key in this table. The address ID is also a primary key, as well as the address type ID. We can also look here and see that the address ID in this table is a foreign key. So this means that if the address ID in this table is a foreign key and the address ID in this other table is a primary key, then they can be able to create a relationship. One thing you always need to be careful is do not join columns simply because they have the same names. If there is not an already established relationship between them, then it would lead to problems, right? So now that we've been able to confirm that the primary key here has a foreign key in this table, we can then join them based on what they have in common, which is the address ID that has been utilized here. Do we all get it now? So basically, we do not have a need for this because this already gives us the results that we need. Are we all clear on that? Let me see what we have. Do we get it? Hi, Fumi and Samson.
Yes, thank you.
Right. So we have questions from Fumi and Samson. I'm not sure if Fumi responded, but yeah, let me.
Yes, I responded just now. I said thank you. I'm
Okay,
getting it.
cool.
All right.
Hi, Samson. Okay. Hello, Samson. When you're good, please just let me know. All right, awesome. So now we've been able to understand it, right? And we can always work with
Hello,
the
sir. Sorry.
information. Yeah, please go ahead.
Yes. Sorry for the interruption. I just want to clarify something. So you are saying in order to join two tables,
Mm.
one table must have a foreign key that is linked to the primary key of.
Sorry, I didn't get that.
You didn't get that. What I'm saying is in order to join two tables together, one table must have a foreign key that is linked to the primary key of another table.
Oh, yes,
Is
absolutely.
that-
Absolutely.
Okay. All right.
Yeah. So if there is no already established relationship between them, right, it would cause problems. So for example, let's look at something real quick. Let me show you something. Okay, so we have this database, right? KCC. I'm just going to query it. So let me show you something why it's not good to do that. So we're already using KCC. So select all from customers. So we have a customers table here, and this is what we have. Now in this other table called Superstore Normalized, I have a customers table that has customer ID as well, right? It has customer ID as well. Now I cannot, because they have the same names, I will now go and do my join and say join, let me bring this here. Join this particular database point, this particular table. Just bring this dot dbu dot. Okay, so it's there already. All right. Okay. Sorry, give me a moment. Join this guy. Let me just call this B. Let's call this A. So I cannot, because of they have the same column names or column customer IDs rather, and now say join on A equals A dot customer ID equals B dot customer ID. Right, that would be absolutely wrong. When we do this, we'll end up getting the results that we want to get. But does it make any sense? Absolutely no. So execute. And okay, so because one has an ID and the other has one has integer data type and the other has something else. Let me try to see if we have anyone else around here that has something different. Let's see. Let's see this. Okay, so this has other ID, doesn't have customer ID and stuff. Okay, so it doesn't have customer ID. So basically, my point here is that you do not want to simply say, oh, because they both have similar column names, then you go and join it to that guy. Right. I usually advise understand the database definition, right? Understand it very well. Find out how the table was created. Note what table is it connecting to. In an organization, we have the data dictionary, right? So figure out in the data dictionary, can this table here connect to this table based on this same guy? So very, very important. Otherwise, you end up connecting wrong tables together simply because they have the same names or because you think they can be able to connect to each other. Right. Of course, if it wasn't because of the data type, we still would be able to convert this guy. Right. So basically, you don't. Give me a moment. Let me see. Cast this guy. As what's this? N lookup. Let's see. I think 5 actually works. Yeah. So let's try this. Okay. So it connected. Right, so this is connected. We can see the two tables, but the reason we cannot see any record now is because one has like way more records than the other, and we don't have those IDs present. Now, at this point, you're beginning to think maybe is your join that is wrong. Your join is actually correct, but it will not give you the correct result that you want to get. So please, when you're joining tables, ensure that you're joining those tables because there's an already established relationship between them, not just because they have the same column names, right? In SQL Server, another thing that you can do, it might actually be a problem if you have to do it multiple times. But for example, we can figure out whether the business entity address can connect to the address table. How do we do that? If you're not looking at the data dictionary, maybe you don't have the data dictionary, and maybe you don't want to look at this stuff that we've done here. Oh, this is a primary key. So let's check this other table if the primary key connects to this. We have this as a foreign key, so this means it connects. Now, if you don't want to look at this, another thing that you can do here would be to come here on one of these tables and look at how the table was created. Right, click on it and script the table as a new query editor or script it to a new query editor. Then maybe you can now monitor it and say, oh, this is the table creation or the definition. So let's find out how it affects the other guy. You can now see when you scroll down here, you can be able to see, oh, this guy is a foreign key constraint, alter table, add foreign key, and the likes, right? This has a check constraint to this foreign key. So you can basically see this is a foreign key address type, right? And you also be able to find out where it is referencing. Right. So that's basically about that. References this particular table, the business entity with this particular ID. References this particular table with this particular ID. And you can be able to find that out. So you can see this address ID is a foreign key that references the address ID in the address type table. We also have for the address ID that also references the business address table, right? The address table rather in this particular one. So you can basically be able to use this as well if that works for you. All right, now that we have that done, I believe we're all good. Please, when we use join, does it default to an inner join? Yes, yes, yes. But we don't need to specify the type of join. So when you use join by default, you're carrying out an inner join. Join tables because there's already relationship between them. To join foreign key of table A references this. Yeah. So you can try either any of the methods that I've also shown. The most effective one would be to get a data dictionary for it. So we can choose to browse AdventureWorks data dictionary and see what it tells us, right? If there is one for your organization, so look at that as well. Select this. I think we're done with that particular one, and I'll have this. So let me do this. Just open this. So I would just let me have this copied. So let's look at some of the questions here, and then we'll dive into the other one as well. Let me put this on another query tab. Okay. So this particular one requires us to do a lot of inner joins. So we'll just look at some few questions from here, then we'll jump to the next one. Please let me know if you have any question before we. All right, so let's look at question one. Question one says, retrieve a list of all the employees and their respective departments, as well as the total number of products that is, let me reduce this a bit, 100, 120. Okay. All right. So retrieve a list of all the employees and their respective departments, as well as the total number of products that is sold by each employee. Only include employees who have sold at least one product. So how do we get this sorted? Let's start off. Now we have a couple of tables here: the human resources, the sales, this one, and this one. So what do we do? Select this from. Okay, so let's quickly list out our tables. Select top one or from human resources the employee. So I like to just list out my tables in cases like this from sales dot sales person sales dot sales order header. Select upon or sales dot sales order detail and select top one of human resources department. All right, so we have all of these guys here, and we can execute. Once we execute, okay, so let me put it this way. The top one, right, basically does the same as select all human dot department needs by one. Can we all please confirm that we get it? So the top one in SQL Server is the same thing as the limit. Are we good? Can we please confirm? Very good. All right, awesome. Okay, so just so we don't miss out on that. So top one performs the same thing as limit one in Postgres, right? So, but in SQL, we don't have a limit one. The limit command does not exist. Instead, you use the top in SQL Server. So we can have these highlighted and executed, and we have all of our records or tables listed here. Right. Okay. So this is it. Now we can be able to use this to figure out what table connects with any other table, right? Assuming we already understand that, oh, there are relationships between all these guys. So what table connects to what table? Now we can see the human resources, the employee connects with salesperson using the business entity ID. Sales order ID and sales order ID both connect. And then we have department ID. So let's figure out what department ID connects with. What other table has department ID in it? So we don't have a table here. Department ID. So we don't have one. Okay, so we don't have one. So let's go on ahead and connect our four tables, and we'll come back for this guy separately. So now the first thing that we want to do is to build our tables. So because we understand that, oh, this operation is all inner joins, so we just proceed. Select all from human resources dot employee. We can call it E. Inner join, which is the same as join. So inner join the sales dot salesperson. We'll call it SP. On SP is equal to business is E dot business entity ID. So we can have this done, right? Now let's find out which of these guys can then connect to this other two. To be able to do that, let's look at business entity ID and what they also have in common. So we can have this, and now we cannot see any business entity ID here. So what do we do? Now we need to go back to the data dictionary to understand it. Now, because I already have experience in this particular data, I know that, oh, we don't have to connect the business entity ID to another business entity ID. There are other columns that can be connected. So let's look at it. Now, let's look at either of this table or this particular one that has customer ID, salesperson ID. Maybe one of them would work, right? Either the salesperson ID or the customer ID. So let's look at this table called sales order header. So we'll look at sales order header. We'll just go to the definition and create it to a new window. All right, so this is basically what was created for this particular guy. So let's look at it. So we can scroll down and we can start seeing all the tables that they are referencing. So we need to figure out one of these tables that would work, either the salesperson table or the human resources, the employee. As long as it connects to any of these guys, we're good. So let's see, this is to person address, this is to person address, this is to credit card, currency, customer, salesperson. So we can see that this particular table, sales order header, can connect to the salesperson table by referencing the business entity ID. So how does it connect? What is the key that can connect? The salesperson ID. So the salesperson ID will help us connect to the business entity ID in this table. Now this is because they have already defined this. So we can now say, oh, This guy here called the salesperson ID will help us connect to this business entity ID in this table. Are we getting it? Can we please confirm that we're getting it? So in this case, we don't have a data dictionary, so we are having to do it manually. Maybe before the end of the session, right, we can be able to create a data dictionary for our own use. But for now, this is what we have. Please confirm that we get that. Everyone is sleeping already. Okay, maybe we should call it an end then. Okay, let's see. All right, cool. So if at any point in time you need clarity, right, please let me know. Do not hesitate to let me know. So let's also inner join the sales order header table. Sales order header table. We'll call it SOH. On SOH dot salesperson ID to SP dot business entity ID, right? Because it can only connect to the business entity ID in this table, but cannot connect to the business entity ID in this other table. So again, you don't want to make that mistake and say, because it can connect to the business entity ID in this table, it should be able to connect to the business entity ID in this table. It won't work, right? Okay, so we've now been able to establish this. And then we can also see that it should be able to connect to the sales order details. Let's see, should be able to connect to the sales order details. We should have that around here. Let's see. Okay, so it's not connecting to the sales order details. Let's see. Okay, so it's not connecting to sales order details. Give me a moment. All right, so I'll just quickly check this and see what we got here. I'll just script it out to a new window and quickly check that. So this should be able to connect to it. Sales order detail can connect to the sales order header, right? So basically, if you delete a record from your sales order header or from the sales order detail, it also deletes from the other table, right? Because of the cascade function that we have, or command rather, that we have there. Okay, so let's create that. And we can inner join this guy again. Inner join sales dot sales order detail SOD. I'll call it that. On SOD dot sales order ID equal to SOH dot sales order ID. Right. So we've been able to connect our four tables together, 1, 2, 3, and 4, except for this last one. So let's see what we have here. So this is what we now have. And we have a total of 60,919 records. 60,919 records. Now, how do we connect the last one? The last one has so the reason why I did the select up one, right, is to be able to view the column headers and just the first record. I don't actually need the entire record. So in cases where you don't need the entire record, you're just focused on getting only the column names, then a select up one or select all from your table, limited by one, would be the best method to go for, right, in order to optimize your query time and ensure that you get your request as soon as possible. All right, so now we can see that it has department ID. So the next thing we need to do is to find out what other column in our database has department ID. So there we go again. Select all from information schema dot columns, and where the column name has a value like not city this time around, department ID. Right. So if we don't see for department ID, we'll just come and look for department. So let's see. Okay, so we have two records. One is our current table, which is the human resources department, and the other is the employee department history. So let's see what we got in that other table from human resources dot employee department history. Right. So when we look at employee department history, we can see that it has both business entity ID and department ID, right? So this guy can be able to connect to both our table that has department ID and another table that has a business entity ID in it, right? So once again, we don't have a data dictionary, so we can decide to script this guy out to find out employee department ID. Let's see what it can actually do for us. Which table it references. So let's see. So we have business entity ID references the employee table with the business entity ID here. So we can then come here and do our join for those guys. So in our join, this particular table called human resources or employee department history, call it EDH. I think EDH works. On EDH dot business entity ID equal to E dot business entity ID, then we can finally join our last table. Human resources dot department, we can call this D. On D dot department ID equals to EDH dot department ID. So this is quite a number of joins that we've had, and we can execute. Once we have this done, this is what it gives us still 60,919 records, and then we can be sure that we have successfully joined our tables to the right guys. Are we all good? Now the next thing that we want to do is to then retrieve a list of all the employees and their respective departments, as well as the total number of products sold by each employee. So how do we get the employees? We use the human resources of employee, which is E dot business entity ID. And we also get their department, which is D dot name as department. Actually call it yep, I believe we have that. D dot name. Let me see. Yeah. So we have D dot name as department. We can also get their group name, right, as well. Nobody sent us that one, but we can get it. All right. Okay. So we now have the employee information and their department. So let's also find out the number of products that was sold for each employee. Only include employees who have sold at least one product. So number of products sold by each employee. So let's look at what we have here. So we'll check our records here to see in sales. So number of products sold by each employee. I think that question seems a bit tricky. Let's see. Right. So we can either work with the quantity of product that has been sold or the product ID itself. In my opinion, I believe this particular question wants us to see, oh, how many products has this particular customer sold, or sales rep rather, have sold 50 products, right? Regardless of the product and how many times a particular product was sold. So we're going to sum up the other quantity for that particular guy, and that should be it. So let's comma sum the other quantity as total products sold. So we have the total products sold, and because we have an aggregation here, that means we need to perform a group by. So we'll group by every of these other guys that we have here, right? So anything in your select that is not aggregated has to be grouped. So go by this. Okay, so we'll remove this. And let's see what we now have. Okay, so this is what we have now. Right. So we now have 17 records returned because we have grouped them from 60,000 plus records. We now have 17 records returned. And the next thing that we want to do is to what is it? Let's look at it. To only include employees who have sold at least one product. I don't think we have any employee that has not sold any products here. Right, so we're good to go with that. So basically, this is how we're now able to have it sorted. Now, I think this actually makes sense because the question says include their respective departments. We can see that everybody who has sold a product is in the sales department. So this means that the people in the sales department handle all the sales in particular. Right, we don't have any other person from outside of the sales that handle sales. So this makes a lot of sense. So there are 17 persons in the sales department that handle sales records. We can also go as far as getting their actual names. I think we have that in the person table, so we can be able to then say, let's look at that. Let's say, in our join person table, call it P on P dot business and TID, E dot business and TID. So we can get the names. Instead of this, we can just come here and get the concat this, and we can say P dot first name. Please let me know if you have any question.
Yeah, someone has a question. Something has his hand raised.
Okay, please go ahead, something. You can just let me know. Please go ahead.
Samson, are you still there? You want to ask the question?
Hello.
All right. Yeah, we can hear you.
Samuel, my question is, how do you know when to use inner join? Because I can see we joined about 4 or 5 tables. Because sometimes these tables might not have the same number of records. So what do you do, or how do you know that you have to use inner join, left join, right join, so that some records will not be lost? So that's my question. Yeah.
Okay. Okay, give me a moment. Okay, so for this particular question that was solving, right? We're more focused on inner join. What is this? Okay, so we need to sorry, give me a moment. Print this. Okay, so let's try this. Let's see. So for this particular question, right, we can see all their employee names, their sales reps, and number of sales that they've made. Now, for this particular question, right, we're more focused on inner joins, how we can be able to join one or more, two or more tables with the inner join command, right? Now, in other cases where you need to maybe use the left join, the inner join, or so, the funny thing there about it is that there's no specific manual that says when you come across a data like this, do inner join. When you come across a data like this, do left join or right join. At the end of the day, whatever join you get to use, dependent on you, the analyst, and what you aim to achieve at the end of the day. So it's dependent on you, the analyst, and what you aim to achieve at the end of the day. So if you know that, oh, maybe I want this particular thing, then you can use the left join for it. Return all the records on the left hand side, and then that's it, right? Or maybe get all the ones on the right hand side to have more advantage. But I don't think anywhere ever on the internet there is a there's an actual manual that says if you come across a data like this, then apply this. The only thing you would find is that, oh, they will tell you try out the inner join first. I also advise that a lot. When you're trying to get your stuff, try out the inner join. If it's not giving you what you want, then try out the left join. I would say 90%, in fact, 100% of times, let me put it this way, 100% of times, you will almost never make use of the right join and other joins. 100% of times, you would almost never make use of it because you have the inner join and the left join, which basically covers for anything. So if there's a time that you need to use the right join, in most cases, your table still falls back to the left-hand side, and then you still utilize the left join. So these two join would actually cover for the most part of what you're doing. So always, first off, try the inner join. If it does not give you what you want, then you can try the left join. But I don't think there's anyone that will tell you, oh, you have to do the left join now, or you have to do the right join now. Again, any join you use is correct. Any join that you use is correct. It will give you your result as long as you're not having red lines on your query to show that your query is wrong. Any join that you use is correct. It will return you results based on your join. But the question should be, is this what I want to get at the end of the day? Right. So you need to look at what you want to achieve, the business question you're trying to solve, and then figure out what exactly works for it. Do we get that? So there's no specific way to note that, oh, for this particular data, we have to use the left join or we have to do the right join. I think we'll take one more stuff and then we can call it day. Let me do for one that has an inner join and the other ones. Let's see. Let's see if we have these. Which of these can we look at? So let's look at question 2. Question 2 says list all the employees. So I'm avoiding question 1 because it has a cross join. I don't know if we've looked at cross join. But let's look at question 2. Let me see question 6 also. Write a query that lists all sales orders, corresponding order details, blah, 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 and include sales orders that have no order details. So all of these here, right, they have a combination of both inner join, left join, and right join. So we can look at any of them who have not been assigned any territories yet. Okay, let's check this guy out. Since it has small amount of tables, let's see, sales LT. Please let me know if you have any questions, right? If I'm unable to look at the chat, so just let me know. So I think we'll take this lastly. And yeah. So if you have any other challenges so far in the aspect of your learning and you need assistance, please let me know so I can see how to best put that out. Let's say, let me do this. select all from, okay, so let's list out all our tables first. So one all, let me close this guy. So list all the employees and corresponding sales territories they are responsible for, including those employees who have not been assigned any territories yet. So these from human resources, the employee. So in an organization, right, this will be most of the things that you will be doing. You need to figure out what table you're connecting to. No one is going to be as good enough to tell you, oh, so we don't have the LT, so I'm going to do with sales instead. And so no one is going to be good enough to tell you, oh, this is the table that you have to look at. Right. So ensure that you get familiar with the data dictionary that there is. There's no data dictionary. So if there's no data dictionary, right, then you can't be able to create one yourself. Just give me a moment. Okay, so let's look at it this way. So business entity goes with this. We've seen that previously. So for this one, let's see what it goes with. Territory ID, do we have one here? Nope, we do not have one here. So, but we have one here, so that should go. Right. Straight. Okay, let's put it this way. So let's go select all from our first one, employee E. Then, so in this case, we don't actually know what we're joining with, right? Whether we're doing inner join or left join or right join. But let's look at it. So select all from this. We can start off with the inner join. Or better still, look at the question again. List all the employees and their corresponding sales territories they are responsible for, including those employees who have not been assigned any territories. Now we can decide to start off with the inner join or the left join, but then we can always change our queries to see whichever works best for us. So let's proceed with this. And inner join the salesperson, call it SP on SP dot business entity ID equals to E the business entity ID. And lastly, we can join the territory ID, right? So we can also perform an inner join. If it doesn't work, like I said, we'll have it changed. So we have sales dot territory. Let's see. St dot territory ID equals to sp dot territory ID. Yeah. So let's proceed. So this is it. So we have the inner join, and this is what we have now, right? Now the question says list all the employees and their corresponding sales territories that they are responsible for, including those employees who have not been assigned any territories yet. So we have a catch. So let's start looking at the things that we need. Let's look at business entity ID, comma. Are we having? Oh, okay. Okay. So yeah, that's correct. Job title, comma, and let's see the territories. For territories, what do we have? So we have the territory name. name as I call the name as territory, comma. Then we can also have their group also, right? And group. Right, so we'll have issues with this, so I can just close it with this because SQL is trying to read it as a group by, but that's not what we want. E dot this. So in the case where you have your columns having a recognized function name, example like this, if we try to execute it, it would not go through. Right, so this would not go through. Incorrect syntax near the keyword group because it is trying to read this as a group by in the select, which cannot work. So we'll close it with the square brackets, and that should work fine for us. So now this is what we have. Now it says, including those employees who have not been assigned any territories yet. Now what we have here is that there's nobody that has not been assigned any territories. So let's check again. I'm going to do a left join here and see. Now when we do a left join here, we now have employees that have not been assigned any territories. So we can see that initially, if we had stuck with our inner join for everything, we probably would have missed out on the employees, right? So it says list out all the employees and their corresponding sales territories. Now, also remember that earlier on, from what we understood, there are 17 sales reps. Now, when we made use of our inner join, let me take this back. When we made use of our inner join, we could see that we had 14 records returned, which means that only 14 sales reps that there is. But then when we decide to bring in our left join, we now see that we have now been able to get all sales rep, including the ones that do not have any territories that they've been assigned to. I don't know if this is making any sense now. So every join is correct and will give you the result, right? I will give you a result. But the question you need to ask is if this is the accurate result that you need for your analysis. If it is, then you can proceed, go ahead and have it done. But if not, then you need to have a check on it again. Right. So this basically means that we have this, and then likewise, we can also decide to get the sales rep name if we want to. I would say that it's still the same sales rep as what we had initially. So let me know if you got that. Let me know if you got that. All right, cool. Making more sense. Cool. Let's see if does anyone have any question?
All right. Somebody has a question, but the issue is the person. I don't know. The person has network issues, so the person sends it as a PM.
Okay.
So I really don't know if. Would you mind if I try playing it? Let's see if it work out.
All right. Let's see.
Okay. Just a moment. Okay. Can you hear it? Sorry, can you hear it?
I'm unable to get it properly. Maybe when you listen to it, you can also tell us about it.
Okay, I think I'll probably just share it with you personally because it's quite a lot. I'd rather the person that sent the text, but I think I can just send it to you personally and probably just
All right, cool.
an appropriate answer. So yes, does anyone have any questions so far? Yeah, I'll send the attendance for that. I think somebody already asked. All right, Samuel, are you done? Like,
Yeah, I believe at this point, yep, we can actually call it a day.
Call
So
it
we
a day.
could be able to take other ones, but it will still take us like a whole lot to put out everything proper. But yeah, so far I believe we've been able to like understand the basic aspects and also clearly understand joins. Maybe if we get to meet again, we can then discuss subqueries and common table expressions, right? Or might even go as far as talking about procedures if possible. But yeah, so far, this is it. So also, if you need to create your data dictionary here, I think one thing you can actually do is to come here, click on table database diagram, right? Let's click on it and click on database diagram. Cannot execute this because you cannot be impersonated or do not have this. Okay, let me see. I think I did something then. Let's see, executes, speed, underscore, change, una, let's see, let me see if I have it here. Okay, so I'm not sure, underscore db, una, let's see if I have, okay, so I'm not sure I can be able to get it right now. But then there's a query to be able to have that done. Change owner. Okay, should be change object owner to essay. Let me see what it says. Specify parameter object name which is not supplied. Change object owner specify parameter object name which is not supplied. But that's what I've done here. Let's see. Essay. So it's only taking one parameter. Object name. Okay, so it needs object name, which is Adventure Works database, comma. Yep. So this should work. Does not exist or is invalid for this. Let's see. Gonna put this in my master. So, if I try this and it works fine, then you can also try it on your end. Does not exist. Why is this? Okay. So, see, it does not exist still. Why is it saying it does not exist? Okay, just give me a moment. Speed underscore change db owner. So should be able to get this done. Not sure why this isn't going through. Okay, let's see. I think my internet seems to be disturbing. So, but yeah, something like this should actually work, right? Change db owner. Is that what I'm doing? Okay, so let me do change db owner. Right. Let's see. Okay, so this should work fine. Cannot change the owner of this. Okay. So let's try it for this. Cannot find this because it does not exist. Why is this saying it does not exist? Adventure Works 2019. Is that not what I'm working with? Let me try again. Cannot find because it does not exist or it do not have permissions. So just give me a moment. Just check. Kindly. Okay. So I'm just gonna click through several and absolutely can't say exactly why. Okay, but yeah, something like that should be able to work, right? If we try it out, let me try it again. So just so you're able to create your database diagram when you try, let's copy this. This and okay. So if you have a database diagram it should make your work easy for you. Thought I copied this. So I just paste it here, and I should be able to get it from here. Let's see. Sorry, this only. Change it from this, alter authorizations. I don't think that's it. Secure change TBO now to SA. So use this. Okay, so this should actually work. Let's see. Okay, perfect. So it's worked. So let's try again. And new database diagram. So once it gives you this, it means that we're good. We'll close this. So it means that we're good, and you can click on this. So it will list you all your tables that you have in your database. These are all the tables that you have. And then based on all the relationships that have already been established, it will then start creating you your table. So we're going to select the first one and then scroll to the last one, hold our shift key, hold shift, click on the last one so that it completely highlights everything, then click on add. So once you do that, it will start building all the relationship diagrams for you. So you can also decide to use this as your schema, as your data dictionary in cases where you do not have a data dictionary for those tables, right? So this will help you understand it. Once it's done, you can then be able to see this table connects with this other table, and this is how you can be able to utilize them when you need to. So we'll just give it some minutes to complete, and that's about that. Just let me know if you have any questions. How do you have an ID form? I'm not sure. Can I get into the form? Okay,
Yeah,
this is for you.
that question is for me. Yep.
Okay,
That
okay.
one is for me.
All right, cool. Okay, so we have it added, and this is it.
I want to post it.
Let's see. So I have these guys that are not like part of my guys because they don't have like any definition or so. But then you can see the other guys that I have for my work, and you can see how they've all been created. Let me reduce this, zoom this to fit. So let me fit this. So you can see that my relationship has been created, each table showing how it connects to the other table, and I can then be able to explore them better, right? So I'm doing this so that I will be able to properly see them. So you can see how they are connecting one table to another table and all the connections. When we view in deep, we click and let's say we do 50%. So this is it. And we can now see that this is beginning to make a lot of sense. Oh, this table is connecting to this table. What is it connecting on? For example, the person credit card table under the sales, that sales.person credit card is connecting to this other table using one of these guys. When you put your mouse on this, you'll be able to see that it's connecting based on the business entity ID between these two tables, the person.person and sales.person credit card. Similarly for this, it tells you what column is connecting one table and another table, right? So you can be able to try things like this, and then you have your own database diagram that you can use for your work. So you can see this is a very large database with so much table, and yep, should be good for you to practice with. So that's about that. I think if there are any questions, what is the code you just used? Okay, yes. So change the DB owner because of the permission issues, right? Let's do it this way. Let me just complete it here. So you can do use your database, which is AdventureWorks 2019. Ensure that your database is in use, and then you can run this. So this is a stored procedure. It's a system stored procedure that lets you change the database owner. All you just need to do is to put in the right parameters. I cannot change this. Is it this one I used? I think this was the right one I used. Yeah. So do this and changes the DB owner from whoever has it in their record to the system admin. So once it's in the system admin, you should be able to perform this operation. So let me put this in the chat. So this should work. So you can then be able to create your ARD. I think in Postgres, it's a bit, how would I say, a bit easy, complex as well, right? Same with MySQL. But yeah, you can try out either of them and see whichever works for you as well. So in case anyone would be wondering, ELD is entity relationship. Okay, relationship diagram. Yeah, so entity relationship diagram, that's your ARD. It basically shows you how one table connects to another table and the likes, right? So you can keep that in mind. Hi, Udeme. Hello, Udeme. If you're talking, I cannot hear you.
Hi, Udeme. I don't know if what you want to ask is as concerning the what now the ID for the form. I don't know if that's what you want to ask. But an email was sent like a month back. It has the ID of everybody on the platform. So I want to believe that's why your hands are raised. So does anybody have a question?
Yes.
What's that?
It wasn't intentional for me to raise my. I said it
Oh,
wasn't
okay, okay,
intentional for me to raise my hand.
okay. All right. Sunday Gabriel has his hands raised. Sunday, can we?
Please, can you repeat how you created that dictionary? I don't know what you clicked. Not the code, the dictionary aspect.
Okay.
Glad to see that people are actually in the call for the course and to learn rather than for attendance. I'm happy to see that. Sorry, don't mind me. You can go ahead, please.
Okay. Give me a moment. So let's do this. Let's look at it again. Okay, so let me say, for example, we have another database. Okay, so let's just delete the current one that we have. So we have current one. So okay, we've not saved it, so we can as well delete it. So let me delete it from here because I've not saved it. So let's do this. Now, the first thing, right, is to try to create it. Once you try to create it and it gives you that error prompt, then you want to change the DB owner, right? So you want to run this particular one to change the DB owner to system admin. So SA stands for system admin, right? Then once you have it done, you can then try again, new diagram, new database diagram. Then you have your tables listed. So you click on the first one, and you scroll down, hold your shift key and click on the last one. Otherwise, you might just end up clicking it one after the other. Like this, or you add this, add this, add, right? So that will not be efficient. So you just go to this, hold your shift key and select them, and then add then it's going to get everything here for you. So once you're done, you can also save it in that database as well, right? I think you can also save it as an image, so for reference or any other thing. So let's just so we'll just give it some time because the database is large. All right, so this is complete. Okay, so completely added, so we can close it. So we don't need these two guys here, so we can just keep it because let's just reduce it. We don't actually need them. Database log, they are not for us. So when you scroll down, you begin to see your ERD has been created. So this is it. So you can see this table connects to this using the product category ID between the, so you can be able to read it from there and see how that works for you. So if you're good with this, you can right click, you can copy diagram to clipboard, and then maybe you can, let's say I want to save it as an image. I can just go to paint on my device, paint on my device, and I can just paste it here. So I can paste it here and I can create like an image of it I can view later on. So this is it. It's actually large. So let's say this is it. So I can save this guy. Let me save this as titled ERD. Let's do this. Adventure Works 2019 ARD, and let's save it. So I can, not even sure where I saved it. But I think it should be in pictures. Let's see. Adventure Works. Yeah, so this is it. So this is what it looks like. Right. So this is what it looks like. Then you can zoom in if you want. You definitely need to zoom in. So yeah, let's see. So this is it. But then you're already aware that you have an ERD for yourself, right, for that particular database, right? So this is what it looks like. Yep. So yeah, that's about that. And let me do this. So this should also can close this guy because I don't actually know it again. So you can also decide to save it for on your database if you want. Right click on this tab header and save the diagram, give it a name, diagram 1 or ERD also. Let's just call it ERD. Okay. So at any point in time, you can always see your ERD there in your stuff, and you can always view it at any point in time. So yeah, that way you have an ERD for your database that you can work with. But then please understand that your ERD would only create when there's an already established connection. For example, I have this guy, the superstore that does not have connections. When I create the database diagram, it's not going to give me that. Let's check it out. To create but it will not create any connections between them because there's no relationship between them. So until I define the relationships between them, I would just see my tables like that. So that's that. I believe we get it at this point. Yep. So until I create that, we won't be able to see that. I think you can also create here as well, create relationships between them here, but you would need to do this. And let's do this. So you need to edit this more. This is the primary key. You need to relationships and look at it. So we just basically have like a lot of things to look at, right? And okay, just do this and close it. So yeah, that's about that for now. I think we're good, everyone. I think we're good.
Wow, thank you so much, Samuel. I feel like at the end of this class, nobody should have issues with inner joy, right? Because you really explained extensively on it. And yeah, if you still don't get something right, you can just, yeah, the recording will be made available. You can just make the recording and just check the recording. I mean, please, can we all tell Samuel a very big thank you? I mean, he has been talking for over 2 to 3 hours already. Can we just tell him thank you? Like, let's tell him thank you. I mean, we have to give him money, like $1 million. Even
Thank you,
though
Mr.
TechUp
Thank
doesn't
Samuel.
you.
have that to give for, like, I mean, he has really helped us. He has really helped us. So thank you so very much, Samuel. Don't worry, when TechUp grows very much financially, we'll bless you with money. Thank you very much, and thank you all for joining. Thank you guys for joining. I know it was a very long class, but I'm sure it was worth it. It was really worth it. So so thank you guys. So I'm going to stop recording now. The